You think you're eating healthy. You're not. That bag of pre-washed spinach you tossed in your cart, it could be crawling with bacteria that shut down your kidneys in 72 hours. Those baby carrots your kids are snacking on right now, they've been soaking in a chlorine solution strong enough to disinfect swimming pools. And that convenient frozen broccoli you microwaved for dinner last night, it's been linked to outbreaks that hospitalized hundreds and killed multiple people across 6 states. This isn't about dirty produce from a farmer's market. This is about the packaged vegetables sitting in your refrigerator right now. The ones with the clean labels, the organic stickers, the family farm imagery, the brands you've trusted for years. They're contaminated, they're recalled, and in some cases they're still on shelves. I'm talking E. coli 0157H7, Listeria monocytogenes, Salmonella typhimurium. These aren't just scary Latin words. These are pathogens that cause brain swelling, miscarriages, and multi-organ failure. And they're showing up in packaged vegetables at rates the CDC calls unprecedented. The European Union has banned certain processing methods used on American vegetables. They won't import them, but you're eating them every single day. What I'm about to show you will change how you shop forever. Here's what's happening in the next few minutes. I'm going to name 7 brands you need to throw out immediately, not tomorrow, not after you finish the bag. Today, I'll tell you exactly why each one is dangerous, what chemicals they're using, what outbreaks they've caused, and what they're still hiding from you. Then I'll give you 2 brands that are actually safe, brands that prove the industry could do this right if they wanted to. But first, I need you to do something. Go to the comments right now and drop the brand of packaged vegetables sitting in your kitchen. Spinach, kale, carrots, broccoli, salad mix, whatever. Type the brand name, because I guarantee at least 3 of you are about to see your brand on this list. Let's start with the one that betrayed an entire generation. You grew up with this brand. Your mom bought it. Your grandmother bought it. The bright green packaging, the cheerful vegetables on the front, the promise of farm fresh quality delivered to your table. It built its empire on trust, on family values, on the idea that eating vegetables was the safest choice you could make. Then in 2006, they killed 3 people. Their bagged spinach was contaminated with E. coli 0157H7, a strain so aggressive it literally destroys your intestinal lining. Over 200 people were hospitalized. 31 developed hemolytic uremic syndrome, a condition where your kidneys stop filtering blood and you either get emergency dialysis or you die. 3 people didn't make it. The youngest was a 2-year-old boy. The source: cattle feces from a nearby ranch that seeped into the irrigation water. But here's what they don't want you to know. Internal documents revealed they had failed safety inspections multiple times before the outbreak. They knew the water source was compromised, they kept harvesting anyway. The spinach was triple washed according to the label, but E. coli 0157H7 can survive in water for weeks. It attaches to the surface of spinach leaves using microscopic hair-like structures called fimbria. You can rinse it under your tap for 10 minutes and it won't budge. The chlorine wash they use in processing, it's measured at 50 to 200 parts per million. That sounds like a lot until you realize it's the minimum concentration, and it's only effective if the leaves are completely submerged for the full cycle. But processing lines move fast. Profit margins at tight, corners get cut. After the outbreak, they rebranded. New logo, new packaging, same facilities. Think about the texture of bagged spinach when it's been sitting for a few days. That's slimy film. That slight ammonia smell when you open the bag. That's bacterial breakdown. That's decomposition starting while it's still in your fridge, and you're eating it. If you have young children, if you're pregnant, if you're over 65, if you're on immunosuppressants for any reason, this brand is Russian roulette. E. coli 0157 produces Shiga toxins that target the kidneys and brain. In children, it causes seizures and permanent cognitive damage. In adults, it triggers strokes. They paid the lawsuits. They issued the apologies. They updated their safety protocols. But here's the question nobody's asking: if they missed it once, what are they missing now? Is this brand in your crisper drawer right now? Next up is the one that turned baby carrots into a chemical experiment. You've seen them everywhere. The snack-sized bags. The perfect orange color. The convenient grab-and-go packaging that made vegetables feel like junk food. They marketed these as the healthy alternative to chips. Schools bought them in bulk. Parents packed them in lunch boxes. They became a staple of American diets. But baby carrots aren't baby anything. They're regular carrots that have been cut down, shaped, and polished by industrial machines. And during that process, bathed in a chlorine solution. Not rinsed, bathed. The concentration ranges from 100 to 150 parts per million, sometimes higher depending on the facility. The FDA allows up to 200 ppm for produce washing. That's the same level used in municipal drinking water systems, except you're not supposed to drink pool water, you're supposed to swim in it. The chlorine serves 2 purposes. It disinfects, sure, but it also bleaches. It whitens the carrots that have been oxidized and discolored from the cutting process. It makes them look fresh when they're not. It covers up the fact that these carrots can be weeks old by the time they reach your table. In 2021, this brand issued a voluntary recall after Shigella bacteria was detected in their baby carrot facility. Shigella causes dysentery, bloody diarrhea, fever, dehydration so severe it kills infants and elderly people within days if untreated. The recall affected products sold in 17 states, but the contamination had been ongoing for at least 4 weeks before they caught it. 4 weeks of shipments. 4 weeks of people buying what they thought was safe. 4 weeks of kids eating contaminated carrots straight from the bag. And here's the part that should terrify you. The Shigella contamination didn't come from the carrots themselves. It came from human fecal matter. That means someone handling the carrots during processing wasn't washing their hands. And the chlorine bath didn't kill it. Think about that the next time you see the white film that develops on baby carrots after a few days in the bag. That's called chlorine residue oxidation. You're eating the byproduct of a chemical meant to mask contamination. The European Union doesn't allow chlorinated produce washing. They require different sanitation methods that don't leave chemical residues. But American companies fought those regulations because chlorine is cheap. It's fast. It's profitable. Your health isn't part of that equation. If you're buying this brand for your kids because you think it's healthier than processed snacks, you're feeding them chlorine-soaked vegetables that may or may not be contaminated with fecal bacteria. Would you risk that? Now let's talk about the frozen vegetable giant that's been hiding a deadly secret for over a decade. This brand owns the frozen vegetable aisle. The bright packaging, the steaming vegetables on the label, the promise of locked-in nutrition and convenience. They've been in American freezers since the 1950s. They're synonymous with frozen vegetables. Between 2013 and 2016, their frozen vegetables were linked to 9 separate Listeria monocytogenes outbreaks across the United States and Canada. 9. That's not a one-time mistake. That's systemic failure. Listeria is different from E. coli or Salmonella. It thrives in cold temperatures. Your freezer doesn't kill it. Your refrigerator is its ideal environment. And it's particularly deadly for pregnant women. Listeria crosses the placental barrier and infects the fetus directly. It causes miscarriages, stillbirths, and severe infections in newborns. The mortality rate for neonatal listeriosis is 20 to 30%. That means 1 in 4 babies born to infected mothers dies. In 2016, this brand recalled frozen vegetables from facilities in California, Texas, and Oregon. The FDA investigation found Listeria contamination in the processing equipment, the floors, the drains, and the packaging lines. It had been there for years. They knew. Internal emails showed that quality control managers had flagged positive Listeria tests as early as 2014. They increased the chlorine concentration in the wash. They didn't shut down production. 3 people died in that outbreak. All of them consumed frozen mixed vegetables from this brand. All of them developed meningitis, an infection of the brain and spinal cord fluid. All of them were hospitalized within 48 hours of eating. All of them died within 2 weeks. The recall included frozen broccoli, cauliflower, carrots, green beans, peas, corn, and mixed vegetable medleys. Millions of pounds. The products had been distributed to every major grocery chain in the country. Some of them had been on shelves for 8 months before the recall. Think about the last time you microwaved a bag of frozen broccoli. Did you cook it all the way through? Did you check the internal temperature with a thermometer? Or did you just heat it until it looked done? Because Listeria survives at temperatures up to 160 degrees Fahrenheit. If your vegetables didn't hit 165 degrees all the way through, you didn't kill it. And here's the sensory detail nobody talks about. Frozen vegetables contaminated with Listeria don't smell different. They don't look different. There's no slimy texture or off color. You can't tell. You microwave them. You eat them. And 72 hours later, you're in the ER with a fever of 104 and a stiff neck that won't move. If you're on blood pressure medication, if you have diabetes, if you're over 50, Listeria is exponentially more dangerous. Your immune system is already compromised. The infection spreads faster. The fatality rate doubles. They rebranded after the recall. Same company, same facilities, different packaging. Have you bought this brand in the last 6 months? Let's move to the organic darling that's anything but clean. This brand exploded in the 2010s. The minimalist packaging, the focus on organic certification, the farmer's market aesthetic. They positioned themselves as the antidote to industrial agriculture. They charged premium prices. And people paid because they believed they were getting something safer. In 2019, their organic baby kale and spinach blend tested positive for dangerous levels of cadmium and lead, not from pesticides, from the soil itself. The farms they sourced from were located in regions with high levels of heavy metal contamination from decades of industrial runoff and mining activity. The organic certification doesn't test for heavy metals. It only tests for synthetic pesticides and fertilizers. Cadmium accumulates in the kidneys. It causes kidney disease, bone demineralization, and cancer. The EPA classifies it as a Group B1 probable human carcinogen. Lead damages the nervous system, especially in children. It lowers IQ, causes developmental delays, and increases aggression and behavioral problems. There is no safe level of lead exposure. None. The levels found in this brand's kale and spinach were 3.2 micrograms of cadmium per serving and 1.8 micrograms of lead per serving. The FDA's guidance level for lead in food is 1.0 micrograms per serving for children. But guidance isn't regulation. There's no legal limit. So this brand kept selling. They issued a statement saying the levels were within industry norms. That's corporate speak for everyone's doing it, so it's fine. It's not fine. If you're eating this kale every day in your smoothie, you're accumulating heavy metals in your kidneys and bones. Over months and years, that builds up. It doesn't leave your body. It stays. And here's the moral attack you need to understand. They knew where they were sourcing from. They knew the soil was contaminated. They chose those farms anyway because organic certification was expensive and those farms were cheap. Marketing over health. Profit over safety. If you have kids drinking green smoothies with this brand's kale, you're slowly poisoning them with lead. Is that sitting in your fridge right now? Now the premium brand that's been lying about freshness for years. This one markets itself as chef quality. Restaurant grade. The kind of vegetables you see in high-end kitchens. They charge double what other brands charge. They justify it with words like hand-selected and peak ripeness and farm to table. It's all branding. In 2022, independent lab testing by a consumer safety group found that their fresh, pre-cut vegetables were, on average, 12 to 19 days old from harvest to shelf. That's nearly 3 weeks. The industry standard for fresh is 7 days or less, but there's no legal definition of fresh, so they can call 3-week-old vegetables fresh and face zero consequences. Why does this matter? Because vegetables start losing nutrients immediately after harvest. Vitamin C degrades by 50% within the first week. B vitamins break down. Antioxidants oxidize. By the time you're eating this brand's pre-cut bell peppers or cauliflower, you're getting a fraction of the nutritional value you're paying for. But the bigger issue is bacterial growth. After 14 days, even refrigerated vegetables start developing biofilms. These are communities of bacteria that attach to surfaces and become resistant to washing. They produce toxins. They change the pH of the vegetable, and they're invisible. This brand also uses a modified atmosphere packaging system. That means they remove most of the oxygen from the bag and replace it with nitrogen and carbon dioxide to slow decomposition. It works, it keeps vegetables looking fresh for weeks, but it also creates an anaerobic environment where certain bacteria thrive. Clostridium botulinum, the bacteria that causes botulism. Botulism is a paralytic illness. It blocks nerve signals to your muscles. It starts with blurred vision and difficulty swallowing. Then it spreads. Your arms stop working. Your legs stop working. Your lungs stop working. You need a ventilator or you suffocate. The mortality rate without treatment is 50%. In 2023, this brand had a quiet recall of their pre-cut cauliflower florets after 2 cases of botulism were reported in the Pacific Northwest. The recall wasn't publicized widely. No press release. No news coverage. Just a notification to retailers to pull the product. Most consumers never heard about it. They kept selling. They kept using modified atmosphere packaging. They kept marketing themselves as premium. If you're buying this brand because you think you're getting better quality, you're paying more for older vegetables packed in a way that creates botulism risk. Would you call that premium? Next is the budget brand that's been cutting corners for decades. This is the one you buy when you're trying to save money. The store brand equivalent. The generic option. The vegetables are fine, you think. They're just cheaper because there's no marketing budget. That's not why they're cheaper. They're cheaper because they source from the lowest cost suppliers in the country. Farms with the worst safety records. Facilities with the most violations. In 2020, an FDA inspection of one of their main processing plants found standing water, rust, mold, and rodent droppings in the areas where vegetables were being washed and packaged. The facility was cited for 12 separate violations of good manufacturing practices. They were given 90 days to fix it. They didn't shut down. They kept operating. They kept shipping vegetables to stores across the country. And people kept buying them because they were cheap. The vegetables themselves. They're often the culls from other brands. The carrots that are too small. The lettuce that's too wilted. The peppers that are too bruised. Instead of being thrown out, they're sold to budget brands at discount prices. Then they're repackaged and sold to you. In 2021, their bagged salad mix was linked to a cyclospora outbreak in 14 states. Cyclospora is a parasite that causes prolonged diarrhea, weight loss, and fatigue that can last for weeks. It's transmitted through fecal contamination of water sources, which means the water used to irrigate or wash these vegetables was contaminated with human or animal waste. 57 people were hospitalized. The outbreak lasted for 6 weeks before the CDC traced it back to this brand. By then, thousands of bags had been sold and consumed. If you're buying this brand to save money, you're gambling with your health. The few dollars you save aren't worth kidney failure or parasitic infection. Is saving $3 worth that risk? Finally, the trendy health brand that's contaminated with plastic. This one is everywhere on social media. The influencer favorite, the clean eating brand. The one with the pastel packaging and the sustainability messaging. They talk about regenerative agriculture and carbon, neutral shipping and giving back to communities. It's all very feel-good. In 2023, testing revealed that their pre-washed salad greens contained microplastic particles at concentrations of up to 230 particles per 100 grams. That's more than double the average for packaged vegetables. The source, the washing process itself. They use industrial mesh conveyor belts made from polyethylene and polypropylene. Over time, these belts shed microscopic plastic fibers that mix with the water and stick to the vegetables. Microplastics are endocrine disruptors. They interfere with hormone production. They accumulate in the liver, kidneys, and even cross the blood-brain barrier. Studies have linked chronic microplastic exposure to infertility, thyroid dysfunction, and increased cancer risk. This brand knows. They've been approached by environmental groups. They've been presented with the test results. They released a statement saying they're exploring alternative materials for their equipment. That was 18 months ago. They're still using the same belts. They're still shedding plastic into your food. And because there's no FDA regulation on microplastics in food yet, they don't have to change anything. They can keep selling contaminated greens and calling themselves sustainable. If you're buying this brand because you think it's healthier or better for the environment, you're eating plastic while funding greenwashing. Have you been eating this? Now here's what you need to understand. These aren't isolated incidents. This is the industry. This is how packaged vegetables are produced in the United States. Contamination, chemical treatments, heavy metals, microplastics, and pathogens are the norm, not the exception. The brands I just named are the ones that got caught. How many haven't? But there are two brands doing it right. Two brands that prove this industry could be safe if companies cared more about your health than their profit margins. The first one is small. You might not have heard of them. They source exclusively from farms within a 200-mile radius of their processing facility. They test every single batch for pathogens before packaging, not random samples, every batch. They use UVC light sanitation instead of chlorine. It's more expensive, it's slower, but it kills bacteria without leaving chemical residues. They also post their test results online, every week. Lab reports showing exactly what they tested for and what they found. Full transparency. If there's ever a positive result, they don't ship that batch, they destroy it. They've never had a recall. They've never had an outbreak because they prioritize safety over speed. Their vegetables cost about 30% more than the contaminated brands. But you're paying for third-party testing, local sourcing, and a company that won't gamble with your health. The second brand is larger but operates under the same principles. They voluntarily adopted European Union safety standards even though they're not required to in the US. That means no chlorinated washing. No modified atmosphere packaging for products that don't need it, mandatory heavy metal testing on all leafy greens, and a full supply chain audit every 6 months. They also work directly with farmers to improve soil health and water quality. They don't just source from whoever's cheapest. They invest in the farms they partner with, because they understand that safe vegetables start with safe growing conditions. These two brands prove that it's possible. The technology exists. The testing methods exist. The safer practices exist. The other brands just choose not to use them because it cuts into their margins. You now have the information. You know which brands are dangerous. You know why they're dangerous. You know what they're hiding. And you know which brands are actually safe. Here's what you do next. You go to your kitchen right now. You open your fridge. You check every bag of packaged vegetables. If it's one of the 7 brands I just named, you throw it out. Not tomorrow. Today. You don't eat one more serving. You don't try to wash it better. You throw it out. Then you replace it with one of the 2 brands I recommended. Or you buy whole vegetables and wash them yourself. You take back control of what you're putting in your body. The industry is counting on you to forget this video. They're counting on convenience to win over safety. They're counting on you to keep buying the same brands because change is hard. Prove them wrong. You now know the truth. What you do next is on you.